most important decision that you can make as a head coach is deciding on a coaching staff and support staff. About 80% of the way through, I am really excited about the group of guys that will be helping us rebrand Louisville basketball and get it where it needs to go. I hired 3 assistant coaches that are just that. They're coaches. They're going to coach the game of basketball. They're going to teach the game of basketball. I think they're going to provide life lessons for our guys both on and off the floor. And the familiarity I have with each one of them from my experiences both as a player with Dino and having Mike and Luke with me on my past Xavier staffs. I don't have to coach the coaches. I don't have to teach them the drills. They don't have to figure out what's important to Coach Mack. And so I want to spend so much of my time coaching our team and getting our players better and learning you and learning Louisville, not learning my assistant coaches. So from that standpoint, you can ask any head coach in the country, one of the hardest things you do is hiring your coaching staff. And when you know those guys as well as I do, it makes it much easier in terms of the transition. I think Dino, it goes without saying, if you could have a former head coach in this league on a coaching staff, I mean the knowledge that he has of systems of play, styles of play is immense. He's a teacher of the game. He'll do a terrific job with our team on the defensive side of things. He's somebody that I respect and look up to, not physically. I think, you know, sometimes, let's face it, sometimes guys that have been coaching for 30+ years are just sort of winding it down, and that's not Dino. He has more energy and more excitement. I mean, I have to like sort of calm him down right now with recruiting calls. He's going to do a lot for our program, and I'm happy to have him. As I told him, he has a face for radio anyway. It's about time he gets off the TV. Luke Murray. Luke's been with me. This will be going on his 4th year. He's been a part of a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, part of a 1 seed. He's going to work primarily with our perimeter players. As I said in the press release, Luke is extremely detail-oriented in everything that he does, whether it's in the office, whether it's working with a player on footwork, shooting technique, whether it's talking about an opponent through a scouting report. He's incredibly detailed, extremely hardworking, very organized. He has terrific relationships with the players that we had at Xavier. As hard as it was for me to leave Xavier, it was equally as hard for Coach Murray because of the time he spent away from the court with our players. And I quickly have noticed that he's already beginning to build those relationships here with our guys. And then finally, my last assistant coach, Mike Pegues. Mike, he played at DeMatha High School for Mike Bray. For Morgan Wooten. And Coach Wooten is the greatest high school basketball coach to ever coach. He's the winningest coach of all time. He coached a million NBA players and college All-Americans. So I told Mike he wasn't one of them, but he was still on DeMatha's team. But he was schooled in fundamentals. He then went to Delaware, became their all-time leading scorer in school history. He played both the 4 and an undersized 5. Mike has a gift. He has a gift for teaching the game of basketball, specifically to post players and guys that do the majority of their work on the interior. He's going to be a godsend for guys like Malik Williams, Stephen Enoch, all of our bigger guys, even if they're not true back-to-the-basket players. I'm really fortunate that Mike's been with me now. This will be his 7th year. And the development that he's had, the players that he's had under his tutelage over the years, whether it's a James Farr from Xavier, who played 70 minutes his entire freshman year, 70 minutes. His senior year, he was 2nd in the Big East in rebounding behind Angel Delgado. It says a lot. Matt Stainbrook, a guy went from 300 pounds that was basically kicked off a team in the MAC conference at Western Michigan. Mike got him, with the help of our strength coach at the time, down to 250 pounds. And it was us or Wright State for Matt Stainbrook. And Matt became an all Big East caliber player and one of the best post passers I've ever played or ever coached. So the development that our big guys are going to get is going to be through the roof. And so all three of them will have a hand in everything. I don't believe in having an assistant coach that's just a recruiter or just a guy that scouts teams. They're all head coaches in waiting. It just depends on how long they want to wait. Maybe not Dino. He's already been that route. Who knows? We'll see. So with that, I'll answer questions.
Did you have to do a lot of convincing to get Dino back to coaching, or how did that go?
He and I have had a lot of talks over the last couple of years, and I think I haven't been away from the game at all. Ever since I've been in second grade, I've always had a basketball season, and I think when you go from coaching every year and being around a team, being around guys, to then just sort of reporting on it and calling games, I mean, he missed that. He missed it greatly, and I think over the years he just felt like ESPN's been great to him, and he can talk about it more, but I think he wanted to be back in the gym and back with a team and back with somebody that I think that he trusts. Couldn't find that person, so he got stuck with me.
So is this something you talked with him about prior to coming here? Like if there had been an opening in Xavier, is this something?
Not really. Dino was, I had a lot of good candidates, and I get a lot of advice on who I should hire, and I'll be really honest, and I think Dino would appreciate my honesty. Everybody would tell me not to hire Dino. He's an older coach. Is he going to be out in the recruiting trail? And they don't know what I know, and he can coach the game of basketball. And I think that for me, I can't look BJ King in the eye because the guy I hires is just a recruiter, and then when he comes on the floor, he can't teach him how to become a better player. And Dino is going to be a guy that recruits. He's going to be on the road. He has relationships that last 25, 30 years with some of these high school coaches and AAU programs. So from that standpoint, I think that I'm not losing anything when it comes to the recruiting piece, and I know what I'm gaining on the basketball side of it. So he was more proactive in selling himself to me, as I was sort of taking everybody's resume and input from around the country, because there are a lot of coaches in this country that want to be on the Louisville basketball staff.
What's your reaction to Dang's announcement? And I guess you now know Ray and Dang both know, and that kind of helps you to move forward.
It's not surprising. I had very candid talks with Vince when I decided to take the job, so I never was under the illusion that either one of them were going to be returning. I appreciate their contributions. Certainly they didn't play for me. I want them to know that they're always going to have a home here in Louisville, and they want to come in and play open gym with our guys or work out in the summer, and they're always welcome back. But I never thought that either one of them would be in a Louisville uniform next year.
Did you have any conversations with them about it before they made it?
Sure. Yeah. Most of it was text messaging. I think when after we had the press conference announcing my hiring, I went to the Final Four to interview several candidates. Ray, when I got back on that Sunday, was already in Miami, working out, and so I didn't necessarily have a face-to-face with him, but text message, talked to Coach Sabo, talked to Ray, did the same thing with Dang, people that are very important in his life, and just expressing my gratitude for how they handled it, being proactive in their communication and being ahead of me not seeing it on Twitter for the very first time. They didn't owe me that. It shows the type of guys they are. And again, I did have conversations before it was announced.
Where does this leave you? What positions do you still need to fill?
We still have some operations positions that we have to fill. We have our video coordinator's been named, Ty Sampson. Ty was with me at Xavier. They'll do a phenomenal job in that aspect, and so a couple more positions. I'm not going to go specifics because it really depends on who I hire and what the other candidate or the other role and title becomes.
Chris, do you anticipate anybody staying on from the previous staff or the previous regime in any of the roles?
We're still sort of sifting through that. You know, Stephanie will be the administrative assistant. Fred, I think, is going to be taking on a different role that really has not been orchestrated by me. I didn't come in here and push him out. So, again, some of the other positions we'll sort of have to see how it plays out here over the next week or two.
How big is this to have this piece of the 3 guys done, have your staff almost? How much does that give you? Like, okay, my first 2 weeks I've done this amount. And it's
yeah, I mean, you feel like you're in that house in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy's, you know, getting hit by the screen, and you know, you're trying to figure out, like, when's this thing going to land and get on your 2 feet. And to have 3 guys that, again, I don't have to coach the coach. I don't have to tell them. We obviously have meetings and we have to be on the same page for workouts, but the terminology and things that are important to our staff, it's going to be seamless, but it feels great. It feels great. 3 guys I really trust, and I know we'll do a great job for Louisville.
Stephen put a picture out yesterday of you guys as a team together. To know, I assume you have all the other guys, to know that they're all coming back. How big is that piece to have recruited all those guys?
Well, I didn't recruit them, but I wanted them to, you know, be a part of this, and I think it's awesome. And we have a great nucleus of returnees. I mean, we have 8 scholarship players, 2 non-scholarship players. They've given their heart to Louisville. They want to help rebrand the program, not just on the basketball floor, but off of it. It's a tremendous responsibility that they share, that we share. And there's an excitement about it. They've been awesome so far. Very receptive. They appreciate the history of this program, and their parents have been the same way. So we are really, really excited.
What's next? What do you do? Where do you go from here?
You have to ask Kenny. I don't. I don't know. In the immediacy, we have workouts today at 3 o'clock. It'll be the first time that, for me, that we're really starting to implement our system. But at the end of the week, that's the last week that, because of exams coming up in a couple weeks, that we're allowed to work out. But, you know, we're in April, so we're going to be all over the country trying to identify kids that can help this program win games and represent the program. You know, so whether that's grad transfers, sit-out transfers, 2018 high school graduates, 2019 high school graduates, that's who we're aiming to look at. And whether it's evaluation period for AAU weekends at the end of April, whether it's home visits, we're going to be doing all of that outside of those dead periods where we're not allowed to go off campus.
Chris, do you have a specific number of guys that you may want to add for 2018?
Well, we have 8 scholarship players. I think we're allowed to have 12. We're not going to just add. We're not going to add a 12th if we're fortunate enough to get 2 or 3 kids that commit just because we want to have 12 in uniform. I think the worst thing you can do as a coach is to make a recruiting mistake. A kid here that isn't capable of playing at this level and then is occupying a scholarship. So we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to look at every option, JUCO, college, you name it. We're going to look at it, but we're going to make sure that they're the right fit for our program and the roster. Again, we have 8 scholarship players that provide a great nucleus and one we're really excited about.
You mentioned the word rebrand. What does that mean to you in this context?
Well, it's what I talked about at the press conferences. I mean, it doesn't take somebody living under a rock not to know that there have been some hard times here at Louisville. And so there's a great responsibility that we share, that we're turning the page. We're going to look forward. We're going to do things the right way. We're going to win games, and we're going to work our tails off to do that. So, yeah, that's what I mean by rebrand.
Is there a specific type of position that you're looking for right now for 2018, or is it more best available?
A little bit of both. I think it. As you look at our team, you say, well, okay, Coach Pitino had Anthony Simmons and Courtney Ramey coming to Louisville. We're not recruiting those guys, so I can use their names. They were coming here, and they were going to help in the perimeter, on the perimeter. So what an opportunity for a fifth-year transfer to come in and be able to play in the backcourt, which is where they identified the help needed. Same thing in the 2019 class. But you know, we're going to look for the best available players, but we certainly need some help in the backcourt.
How many hours do you have this week, or can you work with the team?
You get 2 hours a week on the basketball floor, and then you get 6 away, weight room, if you want to run them on a track, conditioning, all that stuff. But, 2 hours in terms of skill.
Are you concerned that there will be any other departures from the current roster?
No, not concerned.
One more question, anybody? Anybody? Great.